Hello to anybody who might just now be tuning in, which it looks like nobody in the chat yet, but hello to future people watching this on the rerun. Looks like we've got some people coming in. Hey, what's up, Gucci, Gray Lightning, Trap named Loli, Kun Sang, Yudo, Heart, Sin, Kifnov, All Midnight Light, Tom the Butler, Dova McKinley, Snow Leopard, Spicy Salts, Holly Molly, Juice Lay, Goose 80 User, Star Beam, Heartsy Protsy, Captain 318, Stabs Live, Thigh 99, Columns Cinema, Gucci, Fortress Reverso, Colin, Snow Leopard, The Faker, and everybody else. Welcome back to the Depression Chamber, everybody's favorite stream, depression-based show. How many other streamers do you know who are pretentious enough to actually stream in black and white? As if what they're doing has any artistic merit whatsoever. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. Could you imagine being in that position? Oh, I'm streaming on Twitch, reading emails people sent me in black and white, folks. Pretentious, pathetic, and sad. It's a more sad state of affairs than the country in which I live in, and that is burning to the ground. Only as parody, that's right. My whole life is a parody. If I make a mistake, oh, it was satire. It was parody. I do something stupid, it was a joke. I made my show black and white. It was just satire of an unnamed show that hypothetically does the same thing. You look even more greasy in black and white. Thank you so much. Hey, Synth. Well, I thought I turned off the sound effects for the bits because I didn't want them to interrupt reading the stories. So let's see if I can not fix that real quick. Could have sworn every time I'm about to stream I fix this shit. And then it doesn't want to work the way we did, but that's okay. We'll get it to work. Mumkey realizes he lives in a society. You finally took the black pill. Mumkey is ironically greasy. Yeah, I I grease on up on purpose. Before each show, I want you to think I look cool. Now it looks like volume is set to 0. I don't see anything else about volume. I don't know what to do. Can you guys hear the music okay? In the chat, everybody spam whether or not you can actually hear the background music this time.
This is a test bit alert.
Yeah, the bits don't want to shut the fuck up. It's disabled for me. Yes, you can hear the music, okay. And I imagine it's not too loud. We're gonna get started reading some stories real quick, folks. Just wanted to give people a chance to pile on in. One more second and we'll be ready. And even if this stupid bit thing doesn't get fixed, I'll just go with the flow anyway, who cares? Anyway, folks, I know it's Tuesday night. Depression Chamber nights should be on Mondays, because it's usually the most depressing night of the week, or I guess day, Monday. I guess not so much now. I mean, every day is kind of equally depressing for people who are no longer leaving the house. So I guess we'll have a special premiere season premiere episode on a Tuesday night at Depression Chamber, but hopefully if we keep this train a-rolling, it'll be Monday nights. So look forward to every Monday night, get your weekly dose of depression. The Asperger emote is pretty racist. What's racist about a man who's proud of his fedora? I don't see the issue with that. I love you too, Complex. Bro, it's Wednesday here. What are you in China? You commie? Don't come on my show and tell me what day it is, folks. Excuse me, Mr. Future Man. Actually streaming you becoming productive? Can you call streaming productive? I wouldn't. I'd be very embarrassed if I said, hey, society, look how productive I am. I spent an hour sitting in front of a webcam talking. Whoa! What effort. Such impress. Epic memes. XD, folks. XD. How's my mom doing? We'll probably find out tonight. She told me she submitted a story about how disappointed she is in her son. I have to assume it's about my brother Patchy, but I guess we're gonna find out. Patchy says, uh-oh. Garfield has taught me to hate Mondays, so I'm glad this is on a Tuesday. You've been productive. You have elbow grease on your face. Thanks. Thanks a lot. What is Big Chungus? You guys seen that cartoon? That guy who is now going to war with Keemstar or something, who Brody Fox or something, he makes dog shit cartoons about memes. And he had a Big Chungus episode, and it was really funny. Great video. Okay, we're gonna get started with the first story right about now. I want to see, we had a couple donations today. The Night That's Blue says, glad to see you're doing better. Wait, never mind, just read the title. No, that's the name of this show that you're watching, The Depression Chamber. Black Ops Pilled, thank you. And Shegs says, first time watching your streams, love your content. Thank you so much, Shegs. With a mighty $10, what a hero. Anyway, folks, let's start the show. This is what you all came here to see. Welcome to The Depression Chamber, a show where the viewers at home, you kind and sad people, send me your stories in dealing with depression, anxiety, bipolar, really any mental illness, any form of social isolation or sadness, which I think is especially prominent in the modern day when everything is depressing and isolated and sad and lonely. So, if anything, this will be the exact opposite of what you need, because it'll be a further reflection of the misery you're already experiencing. And if you're still up for it, I know I am too. Welcome aboard. Let's hop on in and take a gander at some human misery. How's that sound? I killed myself once, shit was cash. You should write into the show. That sounds like our ideal story. What's the email? thedepressionchamber@gmail.com. I should probably write that somewhere more prominent, but sometimes if you want to submit something to my show, it has to be a bit of a fantastical scavenger hunt where crucial information like an email forwarding address, you have to, solve some riddles and find the clues and follow the trail so that you can actually contribute and participate. Nobody just gets to be part of this community. You have to earn your way in. The hazing is that you have to work really hard to find critical information. Anyway, story number 1 in the epic return of the Depression Chamber. My Sob Story Part 1. Please Kill Me, I'm in Constant Emotional Pain. By Joshua. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. It all started back in the 10th grade. I laid my eyes on this cute biracial girl, let's call her Peyton, that's her real name. I caught feelings for her almost immediately. I didn't know her last name, so one day before a test I looked at a list of students or something on a teacher's clipboard and found out her last name. I found all of her social media accounts, but I didn't follow any of them yet. I remember talking to her during class one day. She was very sweet and didn't seem creeped out by me. Okay, if I can interrupt, and we will interrupt from time to time with the chat's ideas and my ideas. If after interacting with a girl, one of the first things you notice is that she's not creeped out by you, I don't know if that's a good amount of self-awareness or a tragic amount of self-awareness. Most people, their main priority isn't to not creep somebody out. That's kind of standard. So I think just based on this opening, we might have a real roller coaster of a story. I began assuming she wasn't romantically interested in me and only saw me as a friend, which I wouldn't be upset about today, but I was basically a nice guy, trademark TM on nice guy, back then. I was, and still am, an ugly son of a bitch, not only outside, but inside as well. My 0 out of 10 looks combined with my severe social anxiety basically killed my self-esteem. Fast forward to November, I was starting to become obsessed with her at this point. Every day of the week, all I could think about was her, and only her. Similar to the dangerously autistic British guy with his hour-and-a-half-long story, I started crying over her frequently. I followed her on Twitter, and she blocked me because I commented on one of her tweets. I remember asking her about it the next day. I don't remember what she said afterwards because this all happened like 6 years ago. I don't think she even acknowledged it at all. December to February were the worst months with her. I sent her a friend request on Facebook and she accepted it, surprisingly. But soon after, she unfriended me. I messaged her asking why. She said she didn't know me very well. She later sent me a friend request. I, of course, accepted it. She then blocked me, and I was very upset. I got my friends to tell her to unblock me, and it worked. I messaged her asking why she blocked me. She replied with the same shit along the lines of not knowing me well. And that process would become a cycle for a few weeks. One day in January, I just broke down crying in the shower. I texted Peyton, yes, she gave me her number, telling her I wanted to kill myself. Understandably, this freaked her out, and she started coaxing me. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That's one of those that I usually just read and I don't say out loud. She started coaxing me into abandoning my plans of suicide. Of course, I didn't follow through with the plans because I'm typing this. I did the same thing again in late February. Again, she talked me out of it. She then offered to be friends. I accepted it, of course. Things were actually going well throughout March. I then asked her out. She rejected me, saying she didn't like me like that. I kind of expected her to reject me, so it didn't affect me that much. Here comes the shit I'm absolutely ashamed of. One day, I messaged her, threatening to kill myself. You can guess what happens next. I continued to do this throughout April into May. I don't know why I did it. To this day, I hate myself for doing that shit. Of course, this destroyed our friendship. It got to the point where the police were involved. I was forced to block her on Facebook. This hurt me more than you could imagine. I couldn't even stay in the same room as her for the rest of the year. 10th grade ended and I was miserable the entire summer. I didn't see Peyton in any of my classes during 11th grade, but I saw her everywhere in the halls. I tried to get over her, but it was impossible. There was another girl who I had a crush on, but I was too much of a pussy to ask her out. I saw Peyton in the hall again sometime in March. She was wearing an orange and white dress, and she looked absolutely stunning. I went to Spanish class and cried quietly because I'm fucking worthless. I got my driver's license during the end of 11th grade and started driving myself to school. Irrelevant detail, but I don't give a rat's cunt. Fast forward to my senior year. I found out Peyton was going to be in one of my classes. This was about the time I was starting to get over her. Now here comes a new girl that would be the target of my affection. Her name is Paryas, spelled P-A-R-Y-S-S. Paryas? I'll call her Pars. We were already friends on Facebook. I commented on one of her photos and she messaged me. We began chatting and it turns out she had a crush on me. I reciprocated the same feelings. Our conversations slowly became more sexual and it was blatantly obvious this girl wanted to fuck me. I finally asked her out and she declined, saying she wasn't ready for a relationship yet. Not even a week later, she got together with my best friend, Travis. Side note, Travis and I are still best friends. I felt betrayed. I thought she wanted me. I began thinking it was a sick joke. I started crying in class. A classmate asked if I was okay, and I straight up said no. How the fuck else are you gonna respond when a girl you had feelings for leads you on? She broke up with Travis not long after, like a month I believe. Nothing interesting happened for the rest of 12th grade. I graduated and got my diploma. This would also be the last time I saw Peyton. She was wearing a white dress and looked gorgeous. After getting a few pics with my parents and relatives, I got in my car and headed home. October of 2016 would be the time I got my first job. That will be fully explained in part 2, but long story short, it was fucking miserable and it mentally fucked me. I don't know how I managed to last 2 years and 9 months there without committing self-oof. I am currently 21 years old and I'm an ugly autistic waste of life. I'm severely depressed and I keep slipping into an even deeper depression. I think about killing myself almost every day. A few days ago, I couldn't take being alive anymore and began looking for the key to my father's gun safe so I could blow my brains out. After being unsuccessful, I grabbed an extension cord and wrapped it around my neck. I gave up and said, "This isn't gonna fucking work." It's almost 3 a.m. and I'm feeling extra suicidal. I'm going to sleep after this and I hope I never wake up. I submitted a story before this, but it was too vague. Can't wait for you to read this in the next Depression Chamber stream, if it ever happens. Seems like your job has been working the shit out of you. Love you, Mumkey. Full homo. Stay tuned for part 2 of my sob story. Don't kill yourself or you'll miss it. An echo. Oh no, that's the name of the next story. So that is the end of story number 1. You know, what a return. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of this guy? What advice would you give him? Can you relate to his story? How do you feel? Let's see in those comments. Or in that chat. He thinks Mumkey is busy, LMAO. Yeah, I don't know where he got that impression. If I gave off that impression, it was a mistake. I don't know if I've ever really been like, oh yeah, no, I'm genuinely so busy. Can't do Depression Chamber. Get a femboy BF. You know, a trap named Loli. I think you might have a little bit of bias with that recommendation. That might just be me, though. Spicy Salt says he's a fucking crybaby. Are we supposed to pay attention? You don't have to, Monkey Gape. A lot of the time, I turn on just long videos or streams just to have as background music, too. And if you guys want to hear my horrible, nasally, disgusting, half-teen, half-man voice in your ear in the background while you're playing fucking Pokemon Sun, go for it. I'm so proud that I could fill that niche in your life. If this is the caliber of depression you need to send in one, then most of us here should send one. I mean, that sounds like a... Oh. I mean, that story is pretty standard, I think. And I think that's the kind of story that, you know, somebody should send into the show. I'm sure it's therapeutic for him, and I'm sure a lot of people, maybe not all of you, but, you know, some people might hear his story and relate to it, and maybe they'll get some self-clarity in hearing somebody else's experience with a similar thing. Mumkey, I jerk off and listen to your stream. Good, Misa G, so me too. I watch these back right when they're done and just I lay on my floor naked, just jerking at it, listening to me read people's depressing stories. Baron von Brunk, my friend from New York, says, Mumkey, have you ever watched the original Mobile Suit Gundam anime? You sound exactly like the voice actor who played Amuro in the Western dub. I have not seen that. I'm sure he has the voice of an angel, though, based on your comparison. Don't go for biracial chicks. Do you jerk standing up, sitting down, or laying down? Depends on, it depends on what's going on. There's a jerk position for every mood. Okay, should we move on to the next story on the docket? One of these is evidently really long because I put it into this word processor, and it's 55 pages because I made the text big. The first story was 14 pages out of a planned 55 for the night. So evidently we're just, scratching the tip of these sad moments in these young men's lives. Okay, let's move on. An Echo from Purgatory by Zach. I'm not changing names for anonymity. Anonymity. This is one of those fucking words. I'm not changing names for anonymity. I don't fucking care. I don't care. Oh, I guess he doesn't care either. I don't care enough for anyone involved in this story to protect them from anything. Plus, I doubt that they watch Simmy and Jimmy. You can say that I changed the names if you need to. It's far too late, my friend. This all started while I was with my first serious girlfriend in my senior year of high school. God, I wish I hadn't burned that bridge, but it is what it is. I was always a pretty introverted person until I am completely comfortable with my environment. So all through high school, I was a very quiet person. I think sitting alone in the back of class, standoffish, school shooter type. Except for in band. I was extremely extroverted and loud when I was with my band friends and my girlfriend. Fortunately, I didn't give half of a shit about anyone outside of that group, so being shunned from other cliques and groups had no effect on me. Somehow this shit is relevant, I promise. So back to the actual story. At the end of my senior year, the band took a trip to Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, to play in some competition. It was really just a vacation for hormonally overclocked teenage nerds. While there, one of the saxophone players named Bonnie made it very clear that she was into me. Now at the time, my relationship with my GF, Emily, was getting shaky, and we spent most of the trip not really arguing, but more like silently resenting each other. While in the hotel's hot tub, I was sitting next to Emily while we both refused to acknowledge each other in conversation with friends. I feel something touch my left hand under the water. It was Bonnie, and she was rubbing my hand with hers. Apparently, she made her way over to sit next to me on the opposite side of Emily. I didn't react and just rolled with it. I guess it was not what she was expecting, so she loudly said, "Are you trying to hold my hand?" Oh no. I was stunned. How the fuck was I supposed to react? I just said no and turned a very, very deep shade of red. Needless to say, this made the rest of my trip fucking miserable. Not only was it awkward enough having to spend the whole time with a girlfriend cold shouldering me, but now she thought I was trying to cheat. After the trip was over and we were back to bumfuck Tennessee, our relationship got a lot better, and all was well. I graduated and took a year to figure out what I wanted to do with my future. That's when I met weed and found out that Emily hated potheads. Needless to say, my choice was made for me when she dumped me for not having a plan for the future. I decided to follow the career path, aka drinking, smoking, partying, and not giving a shit about the consequences. Bonnie ended up running in the same circle when she graduated, and we immediately started fucking like animals. Whoa! I mean, all of the time. If we weren't fucking, we were smoking weed. This led to about a 2-year relationship that was nothing but fucking, fighting, and getting hella fucked up. She ended up cheating on me with some big truck driving, tiny dicked redneck at a NASCAR race in March, and we split. Cut to August of 2013. While at a stripper's party with my brother, I ended up texting her and telling her that I wanted to start fucking again. To my surprise, she reciprocated the feeling and we were back at it. This is where it gets fun. At the end of August, she calls me and tells me we need to talk. She comes over and tells me that she went to get birth control, and during the testing, she found out she was 6 months pregnant. It's important to note that she only got her period 3 times a year, so she came from a very religious family, so little ignorance and subsequent denial was totally understandable to me. Now, the pregnancy lined up perfectly with her cheating on me, but honestly, it didn't matter to me. All I had ever wanted was to be a father, so I was 100% on board with being there for it. 2 weeks later, she goes into early labor and my daughter was born. Because she was premature, she had to spend the next couple of months in the NICU in an incubator. Didn't matter. I was beyond happy. I spent every little bit of free time I had at the hospital with Bonnie and our baby. Bonnie and I had actually started to bond more over this than anything else we had bonded over in the past. It was amazing. I was in love. I was a father, and I was making decent money at my job working customer service for a shipping and handling company at a call center. Well, at the end of November, my daughter got to come home, which meant she would be easier to spend time with, or so I thought. Her coming home meant that she was living with Bonnie and her ultra-religious family who didn't like me before I knocked up their daughter. Imagine the tension when I came over to see Bonnie and our daughter. It was far from ideal, but it didn't matter. It was just a speed bump. I was saving up for a ring to propose and start my family. It was all coming together. Over the Christmas season, my job started requiring overtime, and as you can imagine, being a frontline customer rep, a service rep for not FedEx, in the Christmas season meant I was in high demand. My visits grew less frequent as my workload got to be unbearable. I was definitely still around, just not as much as I wanted to be. Once the season was over, I called Bonnie to apologize about being sparse, and I would be around a lot more. She said that we need to break up and that with the kid she didn't have time to balance a relationship and being a mom. I didn't react well. I told her that she was being a cold-hearted bitch and that she led me to believe that we were going to be together. She said that she never wanted to get back together with me in the first place and that she felt that pretending to love me would make everything easier. I told her that I hated her and I hung up. 2 weeks later, I called to tell her I was coming to see my daughter and she agreed. While there, she told me that she was seeing someone she met in church. Oh. Silence. I sat there, holding my daughter, my blood boiling, and every ounce of my hatred I had was begging me to scream and show her what she was doing to me. Instead, I kissed the baby's forehead, laid her down in her crib, and left without saying a word. The next week, I texted her and tried to smooth things over. I was met with, "Anything you have to say to me, you can say in front of my husband." Husband? We've been broken up for 3 weeks. I told her that this is a matter to be settled in court. After that, I heard nothing from her and she changed her number. Through my brother, I heard that she was actively avoiding me because she didn't want me around because I was going to be a bad influence in her and her daughter's life in God. I wasn't a Christian and had no interest in becoming one, and she had fallen back into her family's ultra-Christian ways. I couldn't reach her. She and her family moved houses and refused to tell anyone where. I was spiraling. I stopped giving a shit at my job and would put every call I had on hold until they hung up, and was eventually fired for it. Now back at home and unemployed, I was already feeling like a piece of watery shit. My old best friend from high school, Kristen, invited me out to dinner to check on me. She told me that Bonnie was filing for abandonment and that I would lose any and all rights as a father. It broke me. After sitting in silence for what felt like 30 minutes, I told her I didn't care. I was lying through my teeth, but I couldn't even comprehend what was happening in my head. She told me I needed to grow up and get over myself and be there for my daughter. I said nothing and went home. I was literally dead inside. Nothing meant anything to me anymore. I was freeloading at my mother's house and had no intention of getting a job or getting myself together. I figured that I would get around to offing myself sooner or later anyway. I spent so much time wallowing in my own disgusting life that my mother and sister were starting to resent me. I finally got a job at a 24/7 breakfast diner so I could afford my pot, booze, and cigarettes, but I didn't care enough to help with bills or to pay rent to my mom for letting me live there and be a lump of depressed shit that both she and my sister had to walk on eggshells around so I didn't blow up at them. It all came to a head when both my mother and sister cornered me and berated me with how much of a piece of shit I had become. I didn't want to hear it. I was self-aware enough to know that I was being shitty and was beating myself up for that along with the Bonnie situation. I needed an out, something, anything. What will get these screeching bitches out of my face? I looked my mother in the eye and said, "You know, one day you two aren't going to register as a family in my head, and I will kill you both in your sleep." It worked. I had efficiently scared my mother and sister away from me for the time being. Of course, I didn't mean it, but I needed the noise to stop. Isolation. Complete isolation. No friends, no daughter, no family. It was a scumbag's paradise. I hated every minute of my life and was dead set on being dead before my 23rd birthday. Fortunately for me, the bonds of family can sometimes be a lot stronger than an empty threat, and my mother continued to care and check on me. I eventually started to come back to being me, and actually managed to score a banging big titty goth GF named Jaden. Our relationship was the most unhealthy relationship you could imagine. We hated ourselves and we hated each other. The breakup was brutal and ended with her bringing up every single insecurity I had ever had and rubbing it into my already broken soul. That was 3 years ago, and to this day, I'm terrified of women. I've missed several opportunities to have happy and healthy relationships/friendships, but I can't bring myself to let anyone in anymore. I've taken great strides to better myself and move forward. Now I'm here, 29, sober, only 1 or 2 friends that I keep at arm's length, despite really wanting to let them in. My loneliness is crushing me and I can't look in the mirror without wanting to vomit at the person I've become. I no longer want to commit suicide. I want to punish myself by living this cold and lonely life for as long as I can. I deserve all of it, and if I were to be hit by a truck tomorrow, no one would miss me. That's my story. I'm sure you enjoyed not reading it. I love your shit, Jimmy. Zach was here. And that is the end of Zach's story. Looks like the chat seems to be in a bit of an argument about whether or not the story's fake. I don't have any reason to think it's fake. I could see this being somebody's, fiction that they wrote up to write a sad story. But really, you could say that about any of these stories. We'll never know for sure which ones are real and which ones are fake. But what we will know for sure, folks, is how the stories made us feel. Rip. Will the echo end? What's echoing? Is something echoing, or is that just one guy saying something? I could never imagine fucking up like that. It has to be real. Would anyone feel better if you found out that it was fake? I imagine some people would. I wouldn't be affected, I don't think. Patchy doesn't hear an echo. Mumkey looks like Stanley Kubrick after making an actress do a 3-second scene 6,000 times. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, he didn't even say how big her titties were. He said that the goth GF had big titties. What advice, if this story is real, what advice would you give Zach? He's 29. His dream is to have a family. He has a child that he's, not really allowed to see because the baby mama's a baby bitch. What's a boy supposed to do? Can we just agree that if it is real, Bonnie should be lynched? That's how I felt watching Toy Story 3. Go on a dating site and get a therapist? He should Elliot Roger. Try for a small-tittied goth girl next time. It's them big tits that fuck you over. Fair. How can you be depressed if you're fucking a big titty goth GF? Because it was a horrible relationship, he said. It was as toxic as can be. Date your therapist, good idea. Bonnie should be burned at the stake. He should adopt 3 black kids and raise them as white. How would that help, Misa Jisa? Suddenly I'm starting to think your username might be a little fucking racist. I don't know why. I didn't say that. Bigger the tits, bigger the bitch. Could be. Get a no-titty fat ass femboy. No, I would disagree with that one. I don't think it'll help him because he wants to have a child. If a relationship is based on drugs, it will crash and burn. Big penis goth femboy. Get a Tommy, Dommy, Mommy GF. It would help because then the... Okay. Misa GC, you need to calm down. As a goth, I can confirm that Bonnie should be lynched. Well, there you go. Edgar knows. Edgar would know. Okay, should we move on to the next story? I think there might have been some bits that I missed, so I'm gonna go check those real quick. Let's see, what day is today? It's that day. Okay, we just have a cheer, Pog, Anon, and cheer. Okay, great messages. Thank you, guys. Useful information. Let's move on to another story. This one looks like it's about 25 pages, so it should be a big honker. Wait, I thought sex immediately causes depression to go away. Uh-oh. I got some bad news. Okay, let's go. Untitled story. Hello, Mumkey. I am a 17-year-old high school student in South Carolina. For the greater part of the past year, I have slowly been sliding down a slope of depression that has resulted from one single event. This event is my failure, as those who ridicule me would call it. This failure, which I would call a minor detour from my normal life, has been used by others to define me as a person, and therefore it has defined me in a strongly negative light. I will describe to you the events of my failure and the subsequent mockery as best I can in two parts. Part 1. Failure. From here on out, I will refer to the person this pertains to as Irina, not her actual name, and my friends as Dan and John. As high school progressed, my friends and I matured and began to establish a sort of social hierarchy based on two traits: how relatively cool you are and how successful you are with women. I only succeeded in the first of these two criteria, and as time passed, I slowly began to feel the effects of my lacking in the second. The first effect was that my friends began to actively make fun of me for the fact that I hadn't yet had a girlfriend. The main reason that I hadn't yet had a girlfriend was that I just wasn't interested. I found no reason for me to evolve my relationships with girls into romantic ones, and so I didn't. But soon enough, it had become apparent that I had no choice but to act. Eventually, I began to like this girl, Irina, and I reluctantly told my friends about this. They soon began to propose ways that I could act on my feelings, but I was extremely nervous. I was nervous about rejection and mockery. Up to that point, 2 of the friends in my group had been rejected, and the rest of the group had spent an obscene amount of time on constantly humiliating them for their failure. I did not want that. I did not want to end up at the bottom. Slowly, I worked up the nerve for the first meeting between myself and Irina at Cracker Barrel. Oh. Cracker Barrel, I think, was Asperger's favorite restaurant. He and I, when we lived in the same city, went to Cracker Barrel together a good 3 or 4 times, I think. That's an epic spot for a potential first date, I think. Now you may be asking yourself, Cracker Barrel? Is this some sort of shitty joke? Sadly, I am not joking. The original meeting place was supposed to be somewhere a little less cheesy, but the circumstances made that impossible. You see, this meeting was not of the one-on-one variety. It was me, my friends Dan and John, and one of Irina's friends. My friends had decided to try and get me better acquainted with Irina, and so they decided to plan a dinner get-together where I could talk to Irina as part of the overall table conversation. Going into this dinner, I felt a great swell of confidence, but that confidence faded the moment she arrived. I found myself completely unable to speak to her. I felt that previously mentioned anxiety dwell back up from deep within, and I discovered that I was utterly unprepared for what I was so deep into. As we left, I felt some of the greatest shame of my life. Neither Dan nor John could help themselves but to mock me senselessly for my failure that night. Looking back on that moment, it appears now in retrospect that I should have left off there and forgotten Irina. But no, my infatuated mind would not stop there. On to St. Patrick's Day. About a month after the events of the Cracker Barrel fiasco, I found myself in another opportunity to speak with Irina. Irina's best friend, the same girl from the Cracker Barrel fiasco, decided to throw a St. Patrick's Day party, and I was invited along with most of my friends. Upon arriving, I found myself in the same situation as Cracker Barrel. You never want to have to say that. I descended the stairs into the party with confidence, but at the sight of Irina, my confidence melted, leaving me with a goal and no drive to achieve it. My friends spent the majority of the night egging me on. They told me to step up, do something, talk to her. Eventually, I found my break. That break came in the form of a mutual interest, that of music. Irina was put in charge of the music selection for the party, and immediately I noticed that the songs she played were all the songs that I knew well and enjoyed. It was mostly 90s alternative, stuff like Rem, Pearl Jam, and Weezer. Quickly, I took the opportunity to tell her that I liked her music, and I ultimately asked her if she would send me her music playlist. She seemed fine with my request at the time, and I felt a sense of accomplishment. I had done it. I had established a bond, although small, with this person. The glory would not last. Uh-oh. That night, one of my most loyal homies, John, leaked to me that Irina had somehow discovered that I liked her. I had to make a choice, to ask her out right there on the spot, or continue business as usual. I considered option 1 until I was told another grave detail. Irina had said she didn't really like me back at all. The anxiety returned, and once again I backed down. I could have moved on, but no, I continued. Spring break and hope was on the horizon. As winter thawed to spring, I began to feel a new surge of confidence after nearly a month of staying off the radar. I needed to assert to both my friends and myself that I would not just give up and allow myself to be relegated. I needed to succeed. My confidence and self-esteem depended on it. It was make or break. I had to do something over spring break. I chose to throw a party at my house, and I quickly invited Irina without any of the previous hesitation that my anxiety had brought on, to the excitement of my friends. They thought that maybe I would turn the ship around, right the course, earn their respect. I felt the same, and the day of the party came. Since I had personally invited Irina, her demeanor at this party was very distant. It seemed to me that she was trying her best to ignore me kindly. Not completely shutting me out, but still minimizing interaction. This barrier proved too much, and I gave up soon after its appearance. Once again, I failed to do anything, and my anxiety had gotten the better of me. This time, I gave up all hope, and told my friends outright that the situation was hopeless. Sadly, all things must pass. The final offensive came right as the school year ended. Much like the final gasping breath attack of the spring offensive of World War I or the suicide charge from Season 3 of Attack on Titan, I gave the last of my confidence's strength in a final push that I knew would end in failure and the annihilation of my confidence. I could no longer stand the oppressive mockery of my friends, and so I chose to undertake this final mission. I began by trying to start conversations with Irina over Snapchat, and I found this to be somewhat successful. This minor victory propelled my confidence to a new level. I had survived the first wave. My next move was an end-of-the-year party, one that would be held once again at my house, and I invited Irina just as before. I hoped that Irina would open up to me somewhat through the Snapchat conversation, and I rode this hope into the party. The party began, and it seemed that Irina was slightly more open to talking to me. The rest of the party went on like this, and as it came to an end, I felt as though I was on good footing. I had survived the second wave, nearly grazed by the rocks. The climax of the events came on the following week, as my friends became more restless for me to act. I resigned myself to ask her out soon, and my friends applied the pressure. It was a Saturday when my hand was forced. I was given 10 minutes to act. I spent those minutes working up those last bits of courage from deep within me, and I composed a message to Irina. After much yelling and general agitation from my friends, I sent the message, and a wave of fear shot through my whole body. The sensation was hollow, cold, piercing. I felt the absolute absence of courage, the dread of reality. It would take about 30 minutes for a response to come. The response was, of course, no. And I resigned myself to what was to come from my friends. The rocks had hit me. The dream was over. Part 2. Aftermath. The beginning stages of my current state of depression began during that long summer. My depression stemmed less from the fact that I was rejected, but from the mockery that followed. Much like with my friends who experienced the same previously, I was relentlessly mocked over this for the entirety of summer. The usual style of mockery was through constant reminders from my friends that I was a failure, a loser, and an overall pathetic person. I experienced this mostly through my online messages with my friends, and I initially thought that the harassment would end by the end of the month. As the month continued, however, I noticed a serious shift in the hostility of my friends towards me. The guys who had been my good friends just a month before now viewed me as a laughingstock and an outcast. Slowly, I slipped from the loose edge and plummeted into a cycle of depression. The summer continued, and as the heat increased, the feeling of hollowness that I had first felt that fateful Saturday night increased in magnitude along with it. I spent the majority of my days in my room, practically sulking over myself, unable to find any happiness in the world that surrounded me. To provide greater context to the causes of my depression, please imagine yourself being ostracized by basically everyone you know except your family. I experienced that for the whole of 3 months, and at no point was I ever able to express to anyone the pain I felt. There was nobody to talk to, nobody who would hear what I had to say and listen to it objectively. If I attempted to reach out to my friends to put a stop to their relentless mocking, it would only increase, and I would feel even more cornered and eventually alone. I discovered that I was completely isolated, completely stuck in the image that my friends had painted of me after that night. Soon my attempts at stopping the mocking became increasingly more bitter and driven by anger. I would feed them with the responses they craved, and they would respond with greater mockery. This initiated a cycle in which I would be driven further and further into desperation while the mockery I endured, increased in intensity. I felt that I was justified in my anger, as I do now, but my friends at the time attempt to make me believe that I was wrong, and that somehow the mockery I was suffering was justified retribution for my failure. They began to attack me in more and more personal ways until it became the norm of their attacks. Rather than just making fun of exactly what had happened, they attacked me for personal qualities and other facts about who I am. I tried to take solace in my own sense that I was right, I was a good person, I made a normal mistake, and that I was going to be fine. They tried to tear me down, but I would not fall so easily. It has been hard for me, but I have made it through this tribulation so far. Before these events, I had a sense that life was going right for me, that I was making the best choices. I no longer live in a world of such confidence, and I now actively fear confidence. I actively fear believing too much in myself. Although I have survived, my friends have placed on me a sense of patheticness, a belief that I am worthless, no matter if that was their intent or not. I have been placed in a situation which has led me to subconsciously agree with what my bullies have told me. I am conflicted as to whether or not to call the people my friends, or if I should forget them. It seems now that it will be impossible for me to fix myself by any point in the near future, and that I will have to continue living in the shadow of my past. It is my view that I have been wronged by my friends and that they have shaped me into the outcast they viewed me as. Here I would like to talk somewhat on what has helped me so far to make it through this mess. The first would be the music of Elliott Smith, and although many of you might say he is fairly cliche for someone in my position or situation to cite as my favorite artist, I promise that Elliott's work is much easier to relate to once you have experienced some of the lows he describes. I truly recommend his work to any of you who feel much like how I do. It is inspirational. The second would be the few friends I do have who don't participate in the harassment. I've learned the meaning of what a true friend is through the encouragement of them. A simple, "Are you okay?" or "Don't listen to them" goes a long way. Please don't forget your friends. The situation as of late is much of the same, but it is too detailed to explain now. I can write a part 3 if you would like to know more. I currently am in the 11th grade and I am seen by my teachers as academically gifted, so I guess I have that going for me. If you or anyone listening have any advice for me in my situation, please let me know. I appreciate your taking the time to read my story and this opportunity to have others hear what I have to say. Thanks. Well, how about that? What a long story just to say, my friends bully me. Should I still be their friend? Wow, what a question. Man, this is a... You know, I envy... And I do not envy 17-year-olds. Clearly the problems they face are so immense. So deep and complex. Like, should you be friends with the people who bully you so much that it has an effect on your mental health and self-esteem? I don't know. Ah! What a tough one. Oh, man. Those aren't friends. Yeah. Let me give anybody out there a word of advice. You don't have the obligation to be friends with anybody on this earth. If your experiences overall with another human being are more negative than positive, if the ratio of positive interactions to negative interactions, if it sides on the negative part, you have the power to no longer talk to that person. These online group chats are in, you can just leave them if these people are causing you suffering. There are a lot of people in this world who will be your friend and will not bully you. I would imagine it's probably the vast majority of people. If you don't like these guys, fuck them. Yeah, no shit they're your bullies. No shit you shouldn't be hanging out with them if they genuinely are affecting you like this and they don't care. At that point, they're not your friends. It's not your fault. I mean, they're just fucking dickheads. And, you know, you either put up with it, or if it hurts your feelings, you stop being their friend. It seems easy. Just comment on porn videos, that's all the social interaction you need. Yeah, good point, Jellyfish. Mumkey giving advice to Sai. Yeah, this is me giving advice to Sai back when I was his friend. And I would just bully him. Sai, you can do better. And he has. I saw Sai was he was on the live stream of the guy JXC. He's like this 20-year-old British kid who makes videos about like Marvel movies and stuff. I saw Sai is evidently friends with that guy. He was in one of his streams. It was pretty exciting when I click on I'm subscribed to this, channel that reviews like movies. And I click on it and I see Sai right there. Whoa! Whoa, small world. Sai is such a weenie. How dare you? Sai is a Chad. He finally finished his big project, posting his like 18-part, each part is 2 hours long, his big video series about his favorite anime. He finally finished it. I didn't watch it, but he finished it. Yeah, Psy from Gangnam Style. That's the very same one. Okay, that is the 3 Depression Chamber stories we have for tonight. I only want to do... If we're going to do these once a week, I only want to do about an hour worth of stories each time. Just so that, you know, I'm not sitting here reading forever. But we'll get more next week. If you want to submit your stories to the Depression Chamber, it's thedepressionchamber@gmail.com. Type them up, shoot them over, and I'll probably read them at some point. Maybe 100 years down the line. Who can truly say? Now that we're done being depressed, and we're going to hang out with the chat for a little bit, let's see if we can switch up the music. Let's see. Okay, Spyro should be blasting in your ears now. Let me know if Spyro is too loud or too quiet. It's okay, guys. If you, if you saw the whole stream, those are the stories for the week. And if you tuned in late, they will still be here on this Twitch channel. I don't delete the stuff. It might auto-delete after like a month or something. I don't know how it works on Twitch, really. Patchy says you've got a banana smoothie. I tend to agree. Oh, look at that. Beautiful colors, folks. That's right. You thought that I painted myself and my property and my walls black and white, but no. A simple effect. Watch this effect. Whoa! Zooms in. You can see the screen. It's magic, people. Look what we've got going on. Look at all these things I set up and it still looks and sounds like shit. Hey, I know some good camera effects. Well, come hook me up, Patchy. Those epic paintings are even cooler in color. I tend to agree. I gotta catch up. We've got Doug Wild said, thanks for ghosting me harder than Asperger's friend, our girlfriend on Snapchat. JK, love ya, silly and Jimbo. Thanks, Doug. And that's all I think that I got. Okay, folks. I think tomorrow night we're gonna do Mumkey's mailbag. I need to write down somewhere below in the Twitch thing what the new P.O. box is, because most people don't seem to know. It's in the description of like the Mumkey and Biggs show. And I think it's in the description of the Simmy and Jimmy channel videos. But yeah, tomorrow night, if you want to tune in, I don't know what time, but around same time I've been streaming these last 2 days, we're gonna open some packages. Mumkey's mailbag. Hope you're ready. Why are you a Coomer, Mumkey? At this point, it just runs in the family, I have to assume. Thanks for the return. Hope things are well for you, Mumker James. Thank you so much, Veta Testing. Mumkey, please discuss the yellow cube in CERN. Are you that fucking guy who keeps spamming me on Twitter? Everything I post, a reply telling me to investigate CERN. I guess he recently watched Welcome to the NHK. Or something like that, I have to assume. Shags, had fun listening. Thanks again. No problem, Shags. Hope you tune in again next time. Is Mumkey also Simmy and Jimmy? Uh-oh. I think I've been exposed. Random chimp event. Is that a meme? I see that a lot. And I like it. I like the idea of random chimp events happening all the time. Okay, let's turn back on that text-to-speech if it'll actually work for me. Why are you wearing a shirt with Justin Wang on it? Because he wanted me to test out his new merch and he sent it to me for the stream. Alright, I'm out. Later, Mumkey. Good stream. Thanks, Apple King. See you next time. About to commit suicide. Just in time. This is the stream to do it, I guess. Make original music. I did. We all know the story of the song that I made. I don't need to go into it. Mumkey, have you been working out? You know damn well I have not been working out. What you wasted time typing that question and hitting enter when you knew damn well what the answer was. Wow, the song bit again. I think I will laugh. Hey, thanks, Bacon Crafted Curtain. I appreciate it when you appreciate my comedy. That's really kind of you. Is the coolest Mumkey in the Jungle shirts still available? Yeah, I think the sweatshirts are still available too. I usually have a link to that stuff somewhere. I don't know. I don't really keep track of all the links to shit that I sell. I should probably do a better job of that. I am eating cheap store-bought lasagna. It's okay, I guess. Sounds like one hell of a Tuesday night. You small. Yeah, gotta live with that. You hyped for the return of the Boondocks. I'm actually not familiar with the Boondocks. I've seen the Chris Hansen clip, but that's it. I'm sure I would like the show, but it's just not one I've ever gotten around to. We need to shut down Rusty Cage before he kills any more kids. I don't know. We're kind of at a point where we're just accepting everybody dying and as much chaos and carnage as possible. So if we're gonna go with police brutality, coronavirus, why not throw in the third head of this Cerberus, this whatever the fucking mythical creature is with the giant dog with the 3 heads. The third head might as well be Rusty Cage killing kids. Fuck it. The 3-headed dog of the apocalypse. What will the 4 horsemen be? I don't know. What character is Sai from One Piece? Probably Choji would be my approximation. Joker was just foreshadowing for 2020. That's what it's starting to seem like. Although the riots are less about wealth inequality and more about race relations and police brutality, I imagine. Do you play drums? I need a new drummer for my band. No, I actually have basically zero musical talent whatsoever. Who's the real Evan Thomas? It's a real mystery. Nobody will ever know who runs the Evan Thomas YouTube channel. How many years does Rusty deserve to be in prison? He did steal a slushie machine, and those are pretty expensive. And he had, ill intentions. He stole it for the sole purpose of having free slushies all the time. I think it's very selfish and cruel. I would probably lock him up for 15 years myself if I was in charge. Please tour with my band, the Sex Monkeys. Okay. Misagisa, you won me back. I was a little down on you at the beginning of the stream, but now that I've been invited to go on tour with the Sex Monkeys, everything's gonna work out. And Patchy just highlights a message of a period. I guess Patchy is on his period, folks. Hashtag Patchy's period. Get it trending. Between slushy machines and his friends' songs, lock that fucker up and throw away the key. I agree. I completely agree. He doesn't understand what personal property or IP is. He thinks if he wants something, he deserves to just take it for himself. And personally, this might be crazy to say, but I don't agree with that. I don't think that's how I should live my life, and I don't think anybody should live like that. I really don't. I think that's too much chaos in the world. He's not living in a society, exactly right. He has no respect for the society that has benefited him so much. Mullet monkey. You were here yesterday, weren't you? I don't need this fucking mullet shit again. If you and Rusty had a new guest on each week, you could definitely continue making new episodes of the Sodi podcast regularly. I would be down to clown with that or really any proposition, but I don't think Rusty right now is interested in doing any of that. Maybe one day in the future, any of these possibilities will come true. Rusty was also transphobic to you? Oh, Princess Maria, I'm so sorry. I should have known. I have a mullet too. Mullets look good, dude. We're gonna bring the mullet back this generation, I'm telling you. The mullet and the t-shirt with a black suit jacket over it. That's the look of the 2020s. We're going to start it right now. Be the change you want to see in the world. That's what I'm going to do. What an unproductive member of society that Rusty guy is. Yep. Fair. Get Rusty on Wheel of Cursed Meals 2. That's not going to happen because we want to film that sooner than later, and Rusty definitely can't come visit me until far later. But maybe for the third one, or the third Wheel of Normal Punishment, I definitely think Rusty will be involved in a wheel show sometime. Once the world maybe is a little better to exist in. Your new podcast should have a trans, black person, and a gay. It seems like you're pushing it. That's a little bit too diverse for me. I have a lot of white supremacists who are fans of me, and I'm gonna be honest. If I had that diverse of a cast, I don't know if they would like it. They might not tune in. So, you know, I have to think, like, do I value the money of white supremacists more, or diversity and the mixing of cultures? Like, which do I value more as a human being? You know, and I really think about it. And when was the last time that diversity bought me a sandwich? I don't know. Money buys me sandwiches all the time. The real question is, how much of that is a joke? Because we all know my content specifically appeals to white supremacists. I mean, we have that video where I don't say the N-word. And that's the whole joke. We have that video where no, that's about it. Diversity doesn't pay the bill unless you're a big business. I'm not a white supremacist, I'm actually an Arab. Whoa! Misa Jisa, we're learning so much about your character tonight. We might be coming full circle on a character arc for Misa Jisa. Mumkey's just giving fodder to BuzzFeed at this point. First of all, like they give a fuck. How many viewers do we have right now? Less than 100? Oh, we have 213, okay, but still. BuzzFeed will never give a fuck about moi. And even if they did, I will never give a fuck about them. I sincerely wish I was relevant enough that BuzzFeed would write an article canceling me. That would be a dream come true. Anyway, I think we're going to call that a night. It's been fun hanging out. We'll be back again for 3 streams in a row. Tomorrow night, we're going to do some mailbag. Let's see how much fun I have opening presents, folks. Haven't had presents in a long time. Can't wait to see all the fun gifts you guys are bestowing upon me in the mail. Patchy says, okay, bye. Good night, everybody. Whoa, great stream. Great stream. I hope you got depressed. I hope it made you sad. And we'll see you tomorrow night.